The sun was already beginning to set below the horizon, and the coming evening, as usual, did not portend anything interesting or unusual. Another Groundhog Day in Dasha's life has passed, and everything has remained unchanged. Everything is as before. She could already predict in advance how this evening would go, lying on the couch, with a phone in her hands, on the screen of which there was only an endless stream of memes or news, and no one would even write or call. So time would fly before the onset of complete darkness, which she, as usual, he won't notice, and when he realizes that it would be nice to turn on the light, it will already be 12:30 by the clock, and it's time to go to bed, because tomorrow you'll be back to study. These thoughts should have made me sad. However, Dasha was already used to it and just lay on the couch, from time to time, poking at the phone or, as Dad liked to say, crushed germs. From a fleeting memory of her father, she smiled, but not for long. A smile only for a few seconds slipped across her face, giving way to the already familiar expression of indifference. And then she shuddered. Behind the wall, where the sofa stood, there was a knock. It was short-lived, as if someone had just tapped their knuckles. Dasha tore her eyes away from the screen and looked at the wall. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Just as she wanted to return to her work, the knocking repeated. It was just as short, unobtrusive, so that it felt like it was just a child playing around. Not knowing what to do, Dasha raised her hand and knocked 3 times on her wall. Silence reigned. Only the girl wanted to continue watching memes, as in response there was a knock, this time a little longer. She became interested. And then, an idea popped into my head. She immediately typed in Morse code in a search engine and, finding what she was looking for, tried to tap on the wall hello. Oddly enough, the answer was not long in coming. In response, a series of tapping was heard, from which Dasha somehow realized that someone behind the wall also greeted her. Gaining momentum, the girl thought, and, having roughly figured out how to knock, she tried to ask how are you? There was no answer for a long time, apparently 5 minutes. It seems to be quite a bit, but for an interested person, sometimes even a minute is an eternity. And as soon as Dasha thought that the interlocutor did not understand her, as in response, finally, a series of knocks rang out, according to which she somehow made out that, they say, everything was in order. For some reason, she suddenly felt warm in her soul, from the feeling that at least someone is doing well in this life. However, there was silence again. Dasha did not know what else to say. More precisely, she knew, but did not understand how it was possible to communicate with the help of tapping, as in the books about prisoners that she had once read. And then, an idea hit her again. The girl shifted her gaze to the numbers in Morse code and, looking at the screen, began to tap out her phone number. She didn't know if the man behind the wall would understand her, but she just wondered what would come of it. In the end, at least some variety of gray everyday life finally got through. Silence reigned again. Minute, second, third. Everything is quiet. At some point, it seemed to Dasha that they would no longer answer her, when something clicked behind the wall, then one knock followed. She panicked when suddenly the phone rang. The girl shuddered and turned her gaze to the screen. The caller's number was not displayed and there was only an inscription, hidden. Not knowing what to think, she answered. "Hello," she said, trying to contain her excitement. "Hello." I heard a hoarse female voice. "You tapped numbers on the wall for me, didn't you?" Dasha's eyes bulged in surprise and she felt her heart suddenly beat faster. Yes, it's me." She leaned her ear against the wall, but there was only silence. "You know, I am so glad that we re-talking. By God, thank you for taking the time for me." The voice continued. "Well, what are you?" Dasha replied shyly. "I'm also very happy about it. Are you lonely too?" "Here, there is this." "Me too," the voice almost whispered. "Even, I would say, sadly." "How I understand you," the girl said sympathetically. "Tell me why your number didn't show up for me?" The voice coughed, but Dasha did not hear anything behind the wall. "It looks like her interlocutor has gone to another room." "I don't know," a slightly quieter voice answered. "Let us not talk about this, shall we?" "Fine. What is your name?" "Dasha. And you?" "Anna. It is a pleasure to meet you." "Mutually, you know. But for some reason it seems to me that you are not much older than me." "Everything is possible. 20 years is not old age." "Oh, you read 20. And I have so much." "See how good it is." "Maybe then on you?" "Yes, of course." "Well, Anya, are you sick there or what?" "There is little. Get well." "There is no reason to be sick these days." "Agree." "Why did you knock on the wall?" "I do not know. I was just bored." You see how boredom introduces people. Here, yes. They started talking. Dasha began to pour out her soul to her new friend. She told about her childhood, about her parents, about her studies and about how lonely she was. Anya listened attentively to everything. Sometimes she said something, tried to joke. From time to time she told something from her life. So, Dasha found out that her new friend recently had a boyfriend. However, she didn't say that they had happened. However, the girl didn't want to ask, you never know, something personal, that he liked to make surprises for her. even the most banal ones, and she loved them for it. Minutes imperceptibly grew into an hour, and after it the second, and the girls kept chatting, now and then laughing at another story from the life of one or another. "Well, okay," Anya said. "You should probably go to bed already, tomorrow, because you have to study." Dasha glanced at her watch and was surprised to find that it would soon be midnight and that she had to get up early. "You rewrite," she replied. "Get well there." "Hold on, thank you. Good luck with your studies tomorrow." "Thank you. Good night." Calm. Only Dasha wanted to ask her to give her number, as Anya disconnected. "I didn't want to knock on the wall. I hope he will call tomorrow," the girl thought, spreading the bed. Exactly at midnight, she went to bed, but she could not fall asleep until 1 in the morning, because the most different thoughts were spinning in her head. In the morning, leaving the apartment, Dasha looked at the door of the apartment nearby. She hadn't noticed it at all before, a typical front door covered in red leather. However, now she knew that Anya lived there, who was ill, but who, perhaps, would call her today. But why perhaps? She will definitely call. For some reason, Dasha was sure of this. The couples at the institute dragged on tiringly slowly. The girl almost fell asleep on them, although she tried to have time to write everything. Apparently, lack of sleep that night affected. Finally, classes are over. The dream vanished, and Dasha, inspired, almost jumped home, because tonight she should not be lonely. She came to the apartment, changed clothes, settled on the couch, clutching the phone in her hands, and knocked on the wall a couple of times. There was no answer, and the bell did not ring. She knocked again. Again silence. "What is it?" The girl tried to call the hidden number, but in vain. The call was impossible. And then, an idea came to her again. She went to the exit of her apartment, hastily put on the first sneakers that came across, and went out into the entrance. She looked at the red door of the apartment nearby and hesitantly rang the bell. She leaned her ear to hers. Silence. She pressed the call button again. And again silence. Maybe something happened? An elderly woman came out of the apartment opposite, who looked at Dasha, who rang the doorbell. "What are you calling?" "There is no one there," she said. "How not?" the girl asked incredulously. "Well, how? Absolutely no. No one has lived there for 20 years, but the girl lives there, doesn't she?" "Maybe you wanted to say lived?" "In terms of?" Dasha asked in bewilderment. "Well, a girl lived there 20 years ago." "Yes, they just killed her there. Since then no one lives there." "Are you joking?" "What kind of jokes are there?" Dasha went into her apartment in shock and closed the door. An incredible amount of different thoughts flew through my head. Who was behind the wall? Who called her? Who was she talking to? Was it all real, or did her mind, out of loneliness and longing, invent it all? She looked at the call history. The conversation with the hidden number has not gone anywhere. So, it was after all. But who then called if the person behind the wall had long been gone? The girl ran to her room, opened the window wide open, and leaned out waist-deep into the coolness of the street, hoping to find the windows of the apartment from which she was knocked. She saw them. There was a plentiful layer of black dust on the eaves, which, for unknown reasons, was not blown away by the wind and washed away by rains, and the windows themselves were tightly closed from the eyes with a black cloth. But someone was there, since there was a knock. Dasha thought as she closed the window. Not knowing what to do, she tried to knock on that same wall and leaned her ear against it. Nothing but silence. The girl tried again. But again no one answered her. Dasha was suddenly upset, for she decided that she had simply begun to go crazy from loneliness. "I deleted the hidden number from the story, thinking that it was just someone's stupid joke, and listened to my favorite music for the rest of the day, hoping to smooth out the stress." Closer to the night, she succeeded. However, the brain desperately did not want to sleep, so she had to take sleeping pills, which did not immediately work. She slept for a long time. When I woke up, I realized that there was no point in going to couples. However, Dasha was slightly upset because of this, because there was an opportunity to adequately weigh and comprehend everything, and besides, it was Friday. Deciding to meditate over food, the girl quickly dressed and went to the nearest grocery store. Passing by the mailboxes, she noticed that a sheet of paper was peeking out from behind her door. Dasha was surprised, because she did not expect letters from anyone, and the time to pay for the apartment had not yet come. Coming closer, she smelled some strange sickening smell, similar to the smell of freshly dug earth. Then I noticed that the leaf itself was in some spots. The girl pulled it out of the box and found that it was a piece of paper, soiled in the ground, and on it, small, but quite beautiful, apparently, in a woman's handwriting, was written, "Hello, Dasha. I didn't want to tell you about it, but you yourself found out everything. I was killed in that apartment 20 years ago. My boyfriend killed. I don't really want to say what happened to us. However, what has been done then done. Let my body be buried, but I remain there, inside. Few people came to my funeral, you know, how insulting. And I'm still there, alone, and I can't go out, but I'm lonely. For how many years I knocked on the previous owner of your apartment, to no avail. Everything was just swearing in vain, thinking, which is on top. You answered me, even called me. Imagine how nice. For so many years to talk to at least someone. To listen to at least someone. Now I, probably, will be able to find peace, but I ask only one thing. At least you come to me. Albeit infrequently, but sometimes. Thank you very much. Anya. Dasha reread the note in shock. She rubbed her eyes. No, it was reality. She couldn't believe it. Turned over the sheet. The name of the cemetery and the site were written there. Going to the store by itself disappeared, as curiosity took over. After an hour by bus, she finally reached the right cemetery, which was a gloomy sight, although what else could it be, since the dead are gathered here. Along the way, I bought a couple of carnations in the store and went to look for the right area. After wandering among the graves, Dasha finally found him and began to look for the right grave, although she understood that she had never seen this same Anya, and the note did not indicate which row. She walked between the rows, until, nevertheless, she came across a small black marble grave, on which a black and white portrait of a girl was applied. It was Anya. The dates of life coincided with the age and year of death. Exactly, it's her. Dasha examined the monument. It was dusty, the marble slabs strewn with dry leaves and grass. Only the portrait of Anya was light, as if it had just been applied. The girl, as best she could, dusted off the grave, removed the grass and leaves, and only then laid the flowers. Sleep, she thought. And I will come sometimes, I promise. From a birch branch that towered nearby, some small bright bird fluttered up and rushed somewhere up. Dasha looked after her and wandered thoughtfully to the bus stop. Upon arriving home, she somehow felt better in her soul, as if a heavy stone had rolled down the mountain. She slept peacefully at night. Only in the morning I could not understand whether it was true, or it was a dream, as if someone was knocking on the wall.